Hey guys, this is Brooke from Vintage Gardener. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I'd give you guys an update as to these. These are peony seeds. Back in, I guess it was January, February, before I really had any subscribers, I did a video on how to start peonies from seeds. And interestingly enough, despite the fact that I had very few subscribers, I mean, granted, not that I have a lot now, that video has actually racked up a lot of views. In fact, I think it probably, except for the ones that I've actually promoted, I think that's probably got the most views of any of the videos that I've done. And so I'm going to post a link somewhere here so you guys can look at the video. As a matter of fact, I'll put it in the description. But to give you a backstory, some peonies do make seeds, not all of them. Some of them do. And if they do, you can grow them. The peonies seed coats are very hard. They're harder than anything like, even like sunflower, even morning glories or sweet peas. It's harder than that. These peony seeds have what's called double dormancy, so it takes a long time to germinate. It can take anywhere from between 2 to 5 years. Now, I did see a couple of articles on trying to get the peonies to germinate, you know, within a less than a year period, I guess you would say. I went with the one recommended by the American Peony Society, which gave you this very 6 to 7 month process that involves soaking, then a hot treatment, and then a cool treatment, and then by the time you were all done with it, it would be like 7 months later, and they should have started to sprout. I did all that, and I can tell you right now, it did not happen. They did not sprout. And so I was just kind of like, okay, the seeds felt just as hard when it was all said and done as they did when I first put them in, when I first started it. And so basically I just took the bag, the seeds are still in their vermiculite, slightly damp vermiculite, and I basically put it in my breakfast room and forgot about it. Now my breakfast room is, what would it be described as, a sunroom. There's really only one wall, but the entire wall is just all windows, and then there's 3 skylights. So it's very bright. It gets very hot in there during the summer. And so that's where it was. I just, it was, as a matter of fact, it was in the thing right next to the window, and it's a south-facing side, and I forgot about them. So I decided to do plan B, which is to actually treat it like I do any other seed, which has a hard seed coat, which is not like for example, sweet pea or morning glories. You can actually file the seed coat a little, or nick it. So I bought a file. I'm going to show you the little clip right here. Okay guys, so I'm back in the car. I got the file. This is the one I got. The woman in the store was looking at me like I was crazy because of what I told her what I wanted to do. So this is, I think, usually used for filing down chainsaws, but I think it'll work just fine. The seeds are kind of big. Okay, so with the file, I was planning to use it on the peonies and then basically plant them right now because it's getting really cold, and then hopefully, the thaw frost cycle that New Jersey had would, be enough to kind of help them, would make them sprout next year, because I've already essentially given them a season with what I did. That's what I was hoping. So anyway, the other day I was like, oh, where are those seeds? And I picked them up and I started squeezing them, and one of them, I was like, oh, I think it's either giving or it's the vermiculite. And I squeezed another one, and then I felt it give, because the seed coat, I guess, is soft enough now where it actually broke. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it broke. And so I went to a couple of the bags, and I had a couple of them where I started squeezing, and they popped too. So I'm going to plant them up. That's going to be a video coming up real quick, because I don't want them, I mean, granted, I guess at that point they'll start sprouting in the bag, but I do want to get them in cups, because I still want to give them a cool treatment. And so I was so excited because although some of the seeds are still hard, a lot of them now when I'm squeezing them, there is a little bit of give, which I'm like, well, gee, it took long enough. And so why did I do that now? I think it's because, well, there was another way to germinate them that I did not try, and I'm not sure why I didn't. I'm not sure why I didn't do it. I think I didn't do it because you needed to have a specific bed for this purpose, and I just didn't have it. So the other way that I saw they to germinate them was to use what's called solarization. So if you're new to gardening, solarization, a lot of times people use it for creating a new flower bed. So for example, like what I'm doing out in my front yard where I showed you the black sheeting, that's solarization. So basically you're putting black plastic down and you're letting the sun basically heat up, destroy the vegetation underneath. Now, black plastic doesn't get as hot as clear plastic. Clear plastic is more like along the lines of a greenhouse, more of a greenhouse effect. And so the other suggestion that I saw was that if you had like a bed with nothing in it, plant the peony seeds, wet the area down very well, and then put clear plastic on it and solarize it. And so the heat, and especially if you have like a full sun location, like on the south part of my house, the sun, those sun's rays will really heat it up to the point where it'll break the seed coats down, and you would get germination in fairly I wouldn't say short order, but it's not like you'd have to wait 2 years. Within a few months, I think it would have broken the seed coat down. So I was just going to throw them out in the ground and just say, well, if it takes a couple years, it takes a couple years. But if I were to, I think that's why they started breaking the second dormancy, is because essentially they were being solarized. Because like I said, I left them in the plastic. I can tell you when the sun comes to that room and I don't have the AC unit on, that room can easily get into the 80s, close to 90 degrees. And like I said, it was sitting in front of the window. So I think that's why that sprouted, but I really don't know. So I'm going to test it again. I do have some woodland peony seeds. And so I'm going to change up what I did because the American Peony Society version just didn't work. I think the heat temperature was too low. So what I'm going to do with the new stuff I have, I'm going to soak those for a week. I'm going to still put them in vermiculite. I'm going to put the vermiculite in my fridge and I'm just going to leave it. And I'm going to leave it until I start planting things out in the greenhouse. Once that happens, I'm just going to put the seeds out there and I'm just going to leave it for the whole summer. I can tell you that in my greenhouse, I do tend to leave the doors closed because with the wind, it can blow it away. But I can tell you that based upon my thermostat gauge, it was getting like 100 degrees in there. And so I think if I just leave them in the summer, because in the summer I'm not using it, just leave it in there. And I think that's what it will need. So I'm going to try it again and try it that way. I'm going to reverse the process. I'm going to do the freeze first and then the heat. And if that does sprout, then, then I think I will have figured it out. So that's the new experiment. So that's what gardening is all about. So anyway, I will do another video on planting up the seeds, but I'm really excited. As you know, I've got the parterre garden. It's 2,100 square feet, so I need a lot of plants. And so I think between the woodland, herbaceous, and the tree peonies, I probably have about 100. If they all sprout, I would have like 100 plants, and now I got a plan for where I'm going to put them. I mean, obviously it's going to take them years to get their full size. So, pretty much that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.